This is Pattern Practice.
What's up, dude? So the other night, I hopped into Discord with a friend and some other friends of that friend. And this friend's cousin, I think, who's, I don't know, trying to explore programming as a career.
I know who you're talking about.
Cool, yeah. So they were in there, and it seems like first order friend that I mentioned, whose Discord it was that I was in there, had invited some intelligent programmer buddies of his to come in and sort of coach this family member to try to be a better programmer. His family member had been working on like a programming project for a game, and apparently had gotten the game. It was kind of like a text-based, turn-based kind of game. And he got it to a point where he was like, oh, I want to like apply visuals to the game. And they had kind of basically said like he had taken that game as far as he could take it, and that you couldn't really apply visuals without creating a game loop and some other things. And then, another friend was like, oh, well, you could just do static images at certain stages. Like when a certain piece of text appears, you can show an image and it'll give at least kind of like a storybook walkthrough feel to the game. But yeah, no, animations or whatever. You could even have like triggered animations based off certain things, but you couldn't, have sort of like an actual playable game without fundamentally changing the game. And anyway, that was the gist of it. I picked up on it pretty quickly. I don't write games, but I understood what they were talking about. And I'm just kind of sitting there silently. I just showed up to play games, bro, but everybody was too busy building a game to play a game. And so they're all talking and they're arguing, right? The new guy who doesn't really know how to code, he's arguing about how he thinks he could make his game work from its current state. And they're arguing, no, that's not possible. And then, my friend is like trying to tell him like, hey man, I think you should listen to these guys. They're pretty experienced, and they're just going on and on and on. And so while they're going on and on, I opened up Firebase and I wrote a game in about maybe 25 minutes and I streamed it while we were doing it, because like, they're all talking about like, oh, he should learn this first and he should get into that and he should kind of learn these fundamentals and those I just built a game and it was kind of fun. It wasn't like a complex game. It was like the helicopter game where you're kind of dodging things, and only you could move the helicopter forward and backward as well. And you could also shoot the things that you were dodging.
Was it so the side thing? Did I see you do like a...
Yeah. It was like helicopter game meets Galaga was kind of like the little hybrid game that I made. And I was able to do it so fast while they were all arguing, and I just thought it was funny. And then, of course, the attention shifted to like me, right? Because I'm telling them like, yeah, dude, I'm a total idiot. He was like, how long have you been writing games for? I was like, at 25 minutes at least.
Earlier today.
I just started. You guys actually inspired me to get into it here just a few minutes ago. It was just like, I could tell it was like blowing his mind. And of course it was pissing off everybody in the room who had real experience, because they were like, this fucking asshole doesn't know what he's doing and this is just a gimmick basically. And it totally was, but it was like, it was funny because I could tell I totally flipped this kid's like ambitions on a head. He's like, how do I be like that guy? How do I be like the guy who can just vibe code a shitty game in 25 minutes? And I was like,
if he followed our
so
podcast,
simple.
He could.
I told him. I was like, dude, we actually, we recorded an episode for how I set this up, and it's pretty easy. I was like, I don't know fuck all, and I was able to do it, so you could totally do it. I did.
How dope is Klein?
I did. It was great, man. It did a really good job, I felt. And I also was using Git along the way. So I was like staging my changes and then committing them once I felt I reached like a significant kind of, call it like a game version or something like that. And I would like stage changes until I was able to articulate like a clear change to the game that I had made. When I was like, okay, now the game has changed and it behaves this way. So I'd commit that. And it was like a game update, But that was fun, man. That was like really fun. And I ended up kind of working on it then. That was like, I say 25 minutes. It was like 25 minutes to instantiate the thing, get it up, and like have a playable kind of game. And then after that, I like tweaked it. And it's addicting, dude. I was like playing with it and tweaking it for the next like several hours. Because again, these guys didn't want to play games. They just wanted to continue to argue about a game that they weren't actually building anymore because they just descended into argument, and I was over there building. It was just a fun night. It was a fun experience. And so that was a week ago today. That was the night that you helped me set it up. So it was all fresh in my mind. And
you did it that day, literally one day, and you were moving. Well, that's really exciting. I had another question. Nope, it's gone.
Okay.
That's
all right. I just wanted to.
No, I just
it'll come to you.
It's so exciting that you were able to put. You used Git along the way. You said. Mm-hmm. Did you ever even once find yourself using the discard and backup and that is not what I wanted discard function where it makes the change and you go I regret this. No, undo.
Well, I unstaged my changes several times and
unstaged
would discard them.
You hit the discard button. It's because there's stage to freeze, yeah, and then there's and then you discard. Did you discard?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was that? Tell me about discarding.
I mean, it was just easy. It was like, I think as long as you're... God, I wish there was a way to really or at least I wish something would kind of pop up in the interface to be like, hey, bud, you've made a bit of a change here. Are you sure you don't want to, stage that or commit that or do something? I do feel like there's some risk to you get engaged and you're like, oh yeah, and then do this. Oh yeah, and then do that. And then it breaks and you're like, fuck. And then you want to back up, but you can't back up except for, you got to erase the last 20 minutes of your work. You're lucky if it was only 20 minutes, You
can actually add a .Klein rules file to tell the bot how to act. And you could be like, also, if the thread gets over every 20 messages, can you remind me to stage my changes, please? Where you can have it be like, hey, every 20 changes, can you just stage the changes? And it would be
just make it stage the changes?
And it would be like, run git add? Do you want me to run this for you? Run command.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, so that was the only thing I noticed was it does take a little bit of discipline, but I did love it. And I tried to take a baby steps approach. Anything that significantly impacted the game, I would stage and I would just slowly move forward. And it felt pretty safe. I was happy. I was happy with the development. And like I said, it would make some changes that I was like, ooh, no, that's weird. Or it would totally break the fucking game a couple times. And I was like, oh, never mind. And it felt so good to just discard all of it and move forward. Way better than that first time when it would break the game and I'd be like, no, change it back. It's not good at uncoding things that it's done
Klein
wrong.
actually does take its own checkpoints, I believe, and you can revert to a given checkpoint.
So maybe I could do it more.
Git is the way to go. Well, and actually, if you discard files, or you discard a change, and you don't tell Klein that you've discarded a change, all it has to work on is what it thought it made the change. And so you have to be like, hey, I threw that garbage away. I need you to reread the whole project again to make sure you understand what I did for you just now, and I need you to really tighten up, bud.
There were a couple moments, now that you mention it. One thing I noticed was it wasn't able to find a certain file that it expected to be there. And I think that's because I manually deleted everything at one point. And I think I deleted the config file or something like that. And it kept looking for it. But then after I let it kind of reinitialize the config files, it seemed to be okay, I think, after that. But yeah, you're right. I would discard some changes and I wouldn't tell it. So I didn't expect that I had to tell it that I discarded anything.
You do. Because what it has is it's like a chat thread that contains some diff in it. And you got to be like, by the way, I deleted it. If you're not going to use the checkpoint function to undo, you got to tell it or it'll find out. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just realizing now that I should be telling it when I do that to it.
That's funny.
You should also seriously look up Klein rules and specifically the Klein memory bank system, because then it can self-document its changes, the list of stuff that there's left to do, assertions you've made about how you'd like it to behave. It's just there's 6 documents where it's like the memory system for when you open a new tab.
Interesting.
You can just be initialize your memory bank, and it reads it into context before doing the change. And if it makes a change, it writes it back to the project document.
You recommended that I do that. I didn't, because when you're look into X, Y, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe when I have time. Like, what's in it for me? I think is what is like the filter that it goes through. And since it's like, what's in it for me? No benefits detected. Okay, I guess I'll look into that when I perceive a possible benefit. Even though maybe I should just trust the advice of a good friend. But now I'm starting to potentially see the benefit here, because what I noticed was Klein would forget the whole thing. It had no idea that we had built this whole game. So I would start a new thread, because I forget why, but there were a couple breakpoints along the way where it was like, all right, I think I've taken this as far as I can. You want to start a new thread? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, sounds good. And then it would be like, so what is this we're doing here? And I'm like, you built this. Yeah, right. I'm like, you built this. What do you mean?
Have you ever
and I'd have to
seen
literally read. I'm like, okay, this is a game that behaves this way. This is what it does. These are the different elements of it. This is how they interact. And like, I need them to do this now. And they're like, okay, cool, boss. And then it would just move on. But it would be nice if it was like, back to the game we've been building together for the last 3 hours.
So the memory bank is a good idea. Something I've been doing in my projects at work is actually something I'm doing in my first real serious project, where I have access to GitHub Copilot, which is basically Klein, is I'll argue with it about what to do next. And then when we reach a conclusion, I go, okay, great. Go write in my /docs, go write the plan for the Ontology.md with a summary to catch someone up who wasn't here for this conversation. And it goes and summarizes it into a document, which I then load for any new task.
That's nice. I was going to say, one thing I noticed was like I've continued to tell it to kind of update the design doc or whatever, which I basically just used as like game instructions. It's like, just update the doc that explains everything here. And I suppose I could ask it to go read that before doing whatever I say. So because everything there explains how the game works and stuff.
Well,
so
at the very, very first step, the next time you open a task, tell it, okay, go ahead and read the design doc at this path. And then nothing else. And then it'll read it into context so that when you ask the next question, it's got the entire document in it as if you had typed it out to it, followed by your instruction. And then at the end, because it's read into the thing and it's got everything you've changed, you can be like, okay, now go update that shit with all the stuff we did.
Oh, yeah, because then it knows what the doc was, and then we make changes, and then it knows what might need to be changed in the doc. That's funny. It actually worked pretty elegantly, despite me not doing any of that. Like, I would just tell it. It'd be like, "What are we doing here?" And it'd be like, "Goddamn, all right, it's a game, and it works like this." And I need you to make this change. And then it would make the change. It'd be like, cool, now go update the design doc, and it would, and it was sensical. It made changes that were accurate. I did a couple times make manual changes, which I know is like breaking the number one rule of vibe coding. I did go in a couple times and just change a couple things that it said in the design doc, like because I just liked it worded differently. But that's it didn't feel right being like, hey, go change. It was more steps to try to tell Klein to go change what I wanted to change.
Well, if it's just a little thing, but if it's like a structural thing, you can be like, listen, you keep telling it to do it this way. And I hate that. I hate it. Can you?
Right.
So what I'm really thinking is this, and also you can have you done voice to text for it yet?
No, I haven't. That's when I'm able to go like hands behind the head and start writing the app is really when I think I'll have reached my final form.
I don't know if it's got it embedded in there, but I know all operating systems have speech to text accessibility function, and on any text box, therefore, you could click and go tap tap. Okay, now do this. Enter. Tap tap. Okay, now do this. Enter. And so you do have to window H or something and then speak and then hit enter. But like,
Right. It's a work.
Klein might even have a microphone button. I might be thinking of Copilot.
I'll take a look next time. But I don't intend to burn the whole call just on that, but I did want to update, everybody, because where we left off last time was like, I don't know. I think we did a good. I didn't succeed in building anything in our last. Well, I threw together a quick to-do list app, but nothing that I was like happy with. I just wanted to follow up and say that night I was able to follow through and do something, and it was in a funny context, and so
that was great. That whole section was great, and is the example of a thing I would flip to be like, here's that gold long, baby.
Yeah,
Mike's update, How'd you like
It's
the
basically an ad for our other video, really, for our instructional video.
speaking of ads? If your team's getting bigger but you're still stuck solving every problem, it might be time to level up. Summerfield Consulting helps engineering leaders grow their team, grow themselves. Grow your team, grow yourself. Summerfield.consulting. All right, nailed it. All right. I don't know if that was in the last one I did, but in the last one I did that'll post probably today. I clipped me saying that and put the word ad break at the top, and I had me saying it
Nice.
with you being like, "That's the guy that made Summerfield Infinite Voting Consulting." Fucking,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. So
Yeah.
it's right
I
around
love
the
that
top
guy.
there. So that's we got three more. We got three more to read for the month. So he
God,
paid for that
that's
slot.
awesome.
You can too, dear listener, if you're interested. We start at a competitive $1 for the whole month.
Wow,
You
you
know, I
can't
figured out
beat that.
you can't beat that. And if you could, you know what? They're probably not worth it. You know, you get what you pay for. Um,
That's right.
but okay. Feels like you were wrapping up. Feels like you were wrapping up the last topic. Things that
Yeah, I
come to my
wanted to
mind
give
are
you a
kind of.
chance to take us somewhere today.
Sure. I desperately want to talk all about what I'm working on, but I think it's proprietary. I'm getting very into. Well, no, we were talking about it for book club, the ontology and breaking it into the. Oh, you just don't like the word ontology? That's not a big word. That's just the name of the thing I
No,
was
no,
doing,
no.
the
I
study of
I
knowledge.
was thinking,
You're like,
no,
look at
no.
this
It just
fucking guy.
brought to mind the
What the
snark.
fuck is
It brought.
anthropology? Look at anthropology. Just say the word. It's like, bro, that's the name of the thing that you do. Oh, he's a pharmacist? What does
Yeah,
that
no,
mean?
dude. There were. It was. I don't know. You should pull it up and read the
No, it's
thing that
bad.
I read, and
No,
our
it's bad.
listeners can tell us if it's something
No,
that the
it's
normal that you can just walk by somebody on the street and be like, "Hey, man, nice to meet you," and they're like, "What are you up to?" And you're like, "Oh, let me tell you," and like they're gonna have any way to engage with you if you drop that sentence on them. There's just no chance.
no.
But I do
Here's
believe you though when you say that you're not being snarky about it or anything, and that's just how your brain works. I totally believe it. And when I came at you, it was like you need to like dumb that down if you want any normies to follow along with what you're saying. I just hope you know if you want them to follow along, it's not happening. It was just
Yeah.
it's
So
for
no.
your own
Here's the
benefit if
sentence.
you care.
Here's the sentence. Okay, audience. You tell me if you're on team. That's fine. I understand what words mean. Or team Mike. I don't even want to hear about the word dictionary. Uh, I
That's right.
said, I said, oh, have you guys heard of OWL? I'm working on something pretty cool. And then he was like, I haven't heard of OWL. And I was like, I'm very, very deep into it right now at work for an LLM application. It's an ontology formalism that uses triples to encode concepts and relationships. Think knowledge graph constrained by like enum and well-structured categories of relationships. I thought that was a fantastic summary, frankly. I don't think you could get a better summary. Um, if you're like, what's an enum? Well, then you're not the audience. You don't care about what I'm talking about if you don't know what an enum is. I'm happy to explain it to you, but like there's no way that the actual subject is interesting to you.
That one is maybe okay. What was the
Oh
let's
no,
see,
there's
what did I
worse. There's
share?
worse ones. You'll be fine. You're gonna find the bad
Oh
one,
yeah,
aren't
yeah,
you?
here you go. Here you go. I'll read it. Here we go.
Don't read it in your voice.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's way better. It's way better in my voice. I think you will really enjoy the disambiguating ontology formalism approach. I'll probably share next session if people vote for it, and I really want to formalize the separated, connected versus three-fourths orthogonality. I just, what the fuck is even going on here was what
Okay,
was what occurred to me, and I
well.
did read the other things that you said. I
Oh yeah.
just, I
He's
felt like
his defense. His
what are we
defense
talking about?
audience. His defense audience is nothing in that thread gave me the context necessary to enjoy that phrase, and I was gonna sass him with, well, jerk, if you had ever come to book club, okay, it wouldn't have just been me and Alex arguing about if the separated connected voice was orthogonal to the third and fourth order consciousness axis. Okay, that was the whole chapter. That was chapter 6. Okay, that
Man,
was the whole thing of chapter 6 was, oh, before I thought connected separated voice was a third and fourth, but it's not. That's a style rather than
fuck me,
rather
dude.
than an order. And the axes, by the way, for your knowledge, I thought this was interesting, which I learned from doing this practice, was
Okay.
connected and separate voice is about how you talk rather than what you talk about. That's why
What do you
they're
mean by
different.
separate voice?
Oh, a like if you're a loner versus if you're highly engaged in your surroundings, that doesn't make you fourth order to be not connected to people. That's just how you That's just your style. If you're talking about caring, as you've mentioned, that's
Uh-huh.
the third and the fourth order. This is Keegan's in above our in over our heads.
Yeah.
Plus, are in over our heads more than others, of course. But
After this book, I think we should read some Mark Twain or something, just a palate cleanser to,
I think we should go straight into
simplify the
Paradise Lost.
language. That's Milton, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to ontologize that one.
Yeah, isn't
But
that
so
like pure like poetic insanity? Like he
yeah,
uses, I think, really complex
iambic
language and
pentameter,
speaks.
and
Yeah.
it's layered. Yeah, no, I don't actually
Yeah,
even know. I'm only
what a
repeating what
jerk.
you've said.
That guy's such an
Only,
asshole. Did he even
well,
want anybody to read his book? Like, what was the
well,
point?
okay. Oh, when he does it, it's art. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. And honestly, when I brought it up, I know that I know that I'm snarky about it because that's like who I am, and it's hard to turn that off. But I feel like genuinely deep inside, it is a question that I want to explore, that I want to at least kind of understand more about. Like, I believe in the use of precise language as a means to I guess we'll say, truthful end, and to convey truthful meaning as best you can. And I'm not certain how you balance the use of like language or more complex, I say complex words, but I mean like more obscure words is really what I'm thinking, like words that are less familiar to people, less accessible, versus, using the exact, precise, perfect word to mean exactly what it is you're trying to say. And how do you balance that, And I liked what I found, and I don't know if you bothered to click on it, and I wouldn't bother you, or I wouldn't blame you if you did not, but I shared a link of my ChatGPT conversation about that.
Oh, I didn't click that. No, tell me about it.
Yeah, good. So what it said, because I was like, my jerk of a buddy uses this crazy heady language and expects people to like care about what he's saying. And I think that he, in the past, has mentioned that he likes the kind of like Jordan Peterson take on precise language toward, like a meaningful or truthful end. And I want to know what JBP would say in this situation, and how he might tackle this problem. And I described the problem a little more as I just kind of did a minute ago. And the response was basically like, yeah, Jordan actually talks about this at some of his lectures because he's he struggled with this problem himself. And basically the way that he, I guess, intends to approach it or tries to approach it is that he first uses the heady language. Like he's like, this is how I think it can be most precisely said, articulated. It's the most precise language I can use. And then he goes, and what I mean by that, and then he translates for you. So he basically is like, and then he breaks it down with the use of like metaphor or allegory or just simpler language in general. And he'll kind of like use examples for the terms, and really like he'll just make it more accessible with simpler language and examples and stuff. And so I don't know that it's fair to say, Joe, every time you want to speak and use a sentence with big words, you should also follow it up with like a lecture that explains the, meaning of what it is you're saying. But I did find it insightful as kind of like, there is a balancing act there, and it's not enough. I think it is fair at least to say that it's not enough to say something like that and then expect the intended audience, especially if your intended audience isn't, some of what I would consider like a select group of individuals who are linguistically talented. If you have a broader audience in mind, then I think you need to at least consider what it might mean to translate a little bit or make it more accessible.
Yeah, I really like the word accessible there.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I made this comment like, in being like, you're right, Mike, you're right, where, the word choice I used wasn't inaccurate. The motivation behind my word choice, at least I don't think, was narcissistic. We'll see. The conclusion, though, is if nobody understands what I'm saying, then I'm just thinking next to you, rather thinking out loud next to you rather than communicating. Commune.
Right.
We're not
Right.
communing. Certainly not
Hmm.
communicating if it doesn't land. And so I believe that for sure. It would be nice if a little AI of my own that was not connected to the NSA, that was running on my own computer, was able to spy on every word and key press and be like, like leans in. Sire, that was an inaccessible garble of nonsense. You might want to give him what you mean by that. And
Right.
I've told ChatGPT, they're like, what should it call you? And I was like, sire. You should call me sire.
Dude, better yet, fuck that. What it should do is whenever you say something like that, it should be like, and what he means by that, it should just
Like it
chime
should just
in.
lean in and be like, and
Yeah,
for everyone else in the call,
yeah,
here's what he means
yeah.
by that. And be like, bro,
Right. Why? Right. Why make you explain it twice? But exactly, it's like the yeah guy behind you.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. That's pretty funny. It
I
just
love it.
repeats what you say, but it says it in
Um,
more accessible
but
terms.
yeah, I just speaking accessibly, and I mean, we had a whole call with Alex and no, with Levi and G on how to talk to an executive, and a lot of that was like talk to them where they are.
Hmm.
Don't give them the weeds. It's not even that they can't understand the weeds. It's like, what are you doing? Like it actually
Yeah.
doesn't even matter how you accomplish it. It's whether or not it's going to work and they can trust you that matters. Because it's a black box. They shouldn't care about the means by which you achieve your technical outcome. They can't care. That's stupid.
Yeah.
They
You know
hired someone to do that.
That Letterkenny scene where they're like arguing with the French Canadians and neither of them understand what each other are saying, so they're just like hailing insults back and forth at each other. They're like it started out like as something completely kind of like neutral and benign, but like it's like, "Hey there, buddy, I don't like your tone," and they argued like that. It's kind of like that's how I feel like someone, some of the managers I work with would respond to some of your language. Is they'd be like, "Listen, motherfucker, I don't like your tone," and you'd be like, "What? I was just explaining like an idea. I didn't, I was like,
Well, hold
but
on, hold on. When I'm at work, I don't know what it is about being at work, but I am a phenomenal communicator that always meets people exactly where they are, and I've been told as much
yeah,
by everybody. All right, buddy? So,
yeah,
so
yeah, you're
only
really
in
aware.
personal contexts where it would be lovely for someone to understand me do I speak in such a strange and stupid way. Okay?
You let yourself be more
I
yourself with your
do.
close friends.
I
It
do, but
seems, yeah,
I am laser focused on landing like crazy at work, and I succeed.
yeah, that's
All
good.
right.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very
think that
much.
you have. I actually personally
Capable.
love. I love the way that you communicate most times. I think it's like funny and intelligent, but usually very accessible. And I think sometimes you just hit like a certain gear where it's like, okay, dude, all right, take it easy. That's why I told you I was like, I would, because you kind of defended the point. And you're like, well, the one guy I was talking to understood what I was said, and it's funny that the other guy in our chat was like, did he though? Like, you have proof. Anyway, it was funny that you said that because I was like, okay, fine. If he was the only one that you wanted to understand it, then that's cool or whatever. But I noticed it as like a pattern, and the pattern is not this is all you do. The pattern is like you have a way of sometimes getting into this gear that then becomes like, okay, dude, everyone's just like, nobody is even looking at what you're saying. Nobody is following what you're saying if you're going to talk like
Yeah.
that. And
No,
it's
I
and
know.
not that I think you, because you were like, oh, a narcissist or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I don't think in your head you're thinking like, if I say these words, people are going to think I'm cool or smart or something. But I think the
No.
audience sometimes might it's like, how is it received, right? And the audience might be like, this, who does he think he is? Using words like that. Is he implying that I should know what these words mean, and that if I
What?
don't, I'm some kind of idiot? It's like he never said anything like that.
And
But
also just ask ChatGPT, buddy. And if you don't look it up, you are maybe a little. But so I what was it? Um nope, lost it. With yeah, so it's funny, like I'm the context of those posts were I'm sitting there just going to absolute town with ChatGPT o3 and trying to develop with it a way to construct the ontology, graph of concepts and relationships. And so I come out of that in fifth gear, just going
Right.
100 miles an hour. Like, I'm like, hey guys, look what I did! This thing with the RDF and the graph, and it's got triples, and it's an ontology, and I used a turtle file, and it works. And if you put it in there, and then you can map it, and look, you can visualize it, then you can see the graphs, and the green nodes point to the other green nodes, and it's like, bro, hold on, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't just slow down. Stop. Just stop.
Yeah, dude. I'd have been like, I'd have said some shit like, "Look, guys, I made like a bubble graph that explains these concepts in a more visual way," and like, that's like all that really needs to be said to convey what it is you were saying. But you used all these extra words that were like, I don't know, what is
Well, me
the
and me, you have to almost. The also thing is, you didn't come to that one book club. Me and Alex, we were arguing pleasantly, but we were arguing for like 40 minutes about
Yeah.
if the separate connected voice was orthogonal to, that's the language in the book, the third and fourth order idness axes, right? If they were orthogonal. And he busted out a whiteboard. He was explaining linear algebra to me. And we were having a back and forth. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to use formalisms in ontology to prove that what I'm saying is true.
What is
And I did.
formalism?
Rather than me saying a thing to you and you saying it back and us having some words that we said, I'm building a formal way to represent it as almost computable, where, entity A has property B and entity B has property B. I can say formally, therefore, property or A and B share this property. Like
I see.
formally, like it's not
So
just
it
that
makes
the
it more
words
like
probably mean that.
objective than subjective. It's like rather than us like arguing back and forth about what we think it means, it's like here's what it means mathematically. Like here's what it
Yes,
must
actually,
mean.
yes. Yeah, mathematically is, I
Okay.
think, the correct way to say it. Because then if you're like, nah, I'd be like, okay, you show me the formalism representing what you understand the knowledge to be. Okay?
Ooh, yeah.
And when you can't, it's because you didn't spend the 10 hours I did learning what that means.
Right. That's another thing, by the way. That's another accusation I think could be thrown your way, which is like if you start arguing with somebody, because I've seen this before too, right? You'll argue with somebody and then you'll drop like a bomb like that on them. And I feel like in their position, they're like, all right, asshole. Like, I feel like I could do many hours of research to understand what you even just fucking said, or I can bail. And you're like, I win! And it's like, what the fuck? I think they just didn't understand what you said.
What I was just doing was actually undercutting my own like communication dysfunction where I am at the disadvantage where you don't have the background. I therefore am going to fail to land. I was saying like, or you could just do the 10 hours that I did, not as a haha, I'm better than you, but like a fuck, you don't have what I need to land on here. I don't have the landing script to land this fucking thing.
Right.
Is my problem.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That was a good.
You don't
metaphor.
you don't have the landing script for me, dude. I've got all this gear, and you don't have the place I need to land this giant thing. Okay, now if you can just if you did take the time to construct a landing strip, okay, that had all the stuff I needed on it, no problem.
Right, but instead you need a plane that has its own landing strip somehow, like built in, like
Well,
it
I mean,
spits a landing strip out in front of it as you're coming in.
That's if you carefully explain something to someone as you're landing, yeah, which is what I do at work.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. That's how it's done.
That's funny.
That is really funny. I realize I have a similar talent at work. I'm really good at noticing when other people are failing to communicate with each other. And
Okay.
I guess I'd probably make like a decent therapist or something like that, like a couples therapist or something like that. But not that like I have a flawless couple situation or anything like that. Like I could
Those are orthogonal.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay, sweet. Hey, I love defining words in context too. That's a much better way to do it than definitions if you want them to stick. For me,
It'd be like being the promoted to manager when you're a software engineer that's good at your job. It's like those are different talents. You're managing people is not writing code. That's a completely different skill set. But go on. What is your talent? Tell me more about it.
No, it's just funny. Well, an example today was pretty funny because I had like a EM and another PM kind of arguing over fairly arguing. Nobody was playing unfairly, but they were arguing about really kind of like some requirements definition. And I like listened to it for about 5 minutes or so, and then I kind of chimed in and I was like, look, I think what's being said by person A is this, and what's being said by person B is that, and I think that where we need to bridge the gap is that we need to handle this while keeping that in mind. And they both looked at me and were like, well, duh, that's what we're saying. And I'm like, now we're all on the same page. Now I'm the bad guy for pointing out the obvious, and you guys suddenly agree. But for the last 5 minutes, you were talking right past each other. And once I say it, it's so glaringly obvious that you both knew it the whole time.
Oh, yeah, and
okay.
I noticed your behavior changed dramatically just now and hasn't gone back.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's funny, right?
Probably
it's almost like,
related. Probably not related.
It feels like these are not the droids you're looking for kind of situation, and it's funny. But I like that. I like that I can do that I am a decent enough kind of listener, and I think it helps things like book club, or things that we've read in book club have helped me, but probably others, see those situations through multiple lenses, really. And I'm able to recognize kind of different ways of thinking and different kind of approaches to communication. And I notice, this friction has happened more with me recently because I have like a new EM on my team, right? So this person has to get acclimated with all these people, and I have a very relationship based approach to things, and so I have very, I guess, I can't think of a better word than intimate, like very, very intimate understanding of each person's working style that I work with. And so I will have like the new EM will be like, this person said that, like, are they like trying to overstep boundaries, or are they like, did they not understand what I said here? And I'm like, no, everything you're saying isn't, none of those are true. Really, this is how this person works. And the reason they asked that question is because they expect me to respond in this way. And it has nothing to do with them not being happy with your approach or disagreeing with anything that you said. It's literally them using me to schedule a meeting, because it's less overhead for them, and they know that I'll look at everybody's calendar and know when is the best time for you and me and the team and him to connect. And so because what happened was, new EM was like, hey, I want to like kind of clarify these requirements. And the PM responded basically with like yeah, sounds good. At Michael, can you schedule something? And the EM was like, does he not want to talk to me? Like, what's the problem there? And I'm like, no. He just means he's asking me to schedule something for all of you, including me. Because he's like, yeah, I'm just like, literally, yeah, no, but exactly. I was like, no, I literally offered to him a few days ago, like, hey man, we're kind of getting into a certain dynamic at work, which is similar to something that's happened in the past I've explained to you, where I'm taking on more of kind of like the project management, call it the flow engineering, and he's taking on more of like the dealing with the stakeholders and the product management and the vision of things, because we're combining resources to go after a more aligned initiative between us. And so when that happens, luckily I've done that with this person a few times in the past, and so we got together and just kind of resussed out like, so what kind of role are you playing, what role am I playing, and how do we make sure this works well? And part of that understanding was, I was like, dude, honestly, don't even worry about like who's available when and how does it, just ping me and tell me you want to talk about something, and I will make it so and make sure it works for everybody. And so we already had that understanding. I probably could have communicated it to the EM before that, so that they weren't wondering like, oh, what happened here. But it was just funny because what I realized is like, no matter how good you are, and this EM is good, like real good, no matter how good you are, without having a intimate understanding of people's working ways around you, you're kind of like crippled in a certain way from getting the most out of everybody around you, and from giving them the most you can of yourself. And so I think that one of the best ways I can support this person is like help them kind of see some of the relationships the way that I do. And it's like, oh, this is how this person works.
Right.
And the best way to interact with them is like this, and help them at least. It's almost like, I don't know, like a catalyst. It's like fire starter, you know. It's like I can't like keep your relationship furnace going, but I can like spark it and get you going. And then once you have kind of the and understand the fundamentals of how to deal with this person, you can build a much stronger relationship much faster with them from there, rather than having an awkward kind of go around where you're like, but what's going on here? And they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. You're like, no, I'm not offended. I'm just grilling you about that, you know, and you have this kind of like this weird exchange where they don't really understand.
Setting.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's
where you got to be
so
like,
awkward.
I know it's cool. You can always ask me anything. Oh no, I know I can ask you anything. And it's like, oh no, don't tell me you know thing that I'm just say understood.
You know, it's stuff where it's like, can you guys get this done by next Thursday? And it's like, you're trying to make me commit to next Thursday. It's like, no, it's just like asking. I was just asking if that's like reasonable. Thursday's reasonable.
May you?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You know, I was like, oh no. And when they ask that question, they're not trying to get you to commit to Thursday. They're just asking like, does that sound like, I'm trying to start to form a kind of framework of expectations around this thing. Like, does Thursday sound asinine? Does it sound like possible, probable?
Well, asking the
give me
opposite
a
actually
figure.
is more accessible. If you were to ask, is it ridiculous to get it done by then, is the opposite of a commitment, but it gets you what you want.
Yeah, that's basically a baked-in accusation audit, right?
Accusation audit.
Yeah. I do that all the time, and I love that. I love that wording.
Dude,
is it absurd of me? Is it ridiculous of me to ask? And a lot of most times people are like, no, of course. It's a great way to approach.
It feels like a little bit of an overkill sometimes when you give them the whole never split the difference, and it's like, this is a guaranteed slam dunk, but they're like, good Lord, no, of course, Jesus, no, of course.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Step off the ledge, Mike.
You got to be careful though, not to be self-deprecating. You can't be, or not too self-deprecating. It's okay to do it a little bit in fun, but you can't be like, I know I'm a total idiot, but like,
No. Well, no, you just frame it in a way where, would it be the case that I am, stupid, or even that I wouldn't do that. But yeah. So you got to watch out for the self-deprecation. But it was funny that you bring up never split the difference. I just want to interject.
The worst I'll do is like sometimes when I'm in a room full of engineers arguing about a thing, and I have what I know to be actually a really intelligent question, but I don't want to act like that. So I'm like, hey guys, just for the dumb guy in the room, quick question. Make sure we're all on the same page here, and I'll kind of like ask a question. But what I'm saying is like, hey, I'm coming to you humbly as a non-engineer that just has a bit of a technical question. And before you say that's none of your fucking business, PM, I want to acknowledge that I'm coming from this place, okay? But I feel like no one else asked the question, and I just want to make sure it gets asked. Anybody else can own it if you want. I want to throw it in here.
Yeah, I mean, if it lands, definitely go for it. I do want to share. It's almost a non sequitur where accusation audit never split the difference. Something I've been very successfully deploying with my toddler is she'll be having like a full on, like a meltdown, like stomping and pointing, and she's got the face, okay, tears. And I will literally, I'll do like this. And I'll lean in and I'll just say exactly what she wants to have happen, even though I told her she couldn't. I was like, you want that ball, you want it now, you want to play with it, you want to throw it down the hall, you want to run around, you want to throw it to me, you want me to throw it back, you want that ball right now, after I told her she couldn't have it. And she just walks away. Like, I validated her so hard that she was like, all right, well, you told me no, and I really wanted it, and you recognize that, and okay, let's grab this squeaky lion. Let's see what's good with the squeaky lion over here.
It is, and part of that, I think, like you said, validation. That's got to be because it's hard for me to, think back to when I was, 2 or 3 years old. But I think that when you're having that kind of tantrum, it's got a good portion of it is due to like, you don't know how much this means to me. Is kind of like what it's about, right? I do have some of that. I know that there were some situations when I was real little that I made such a huge deal about because I thought like it was literally like this is a huge opportunity that I'm going to miss out on. And now looking back, it's like, it probably wasn't that big of a deal. And I got to do it a million more times in my life. It's like candy in the store or something like that. It's like, oh my God, if I don't get this candy, it's going to be life altering, but it's like to look at them and say like, you really, really want this candy right now. You want to just be covered in chocolate and just fat and happy. And they're, maybe they'll respond with just like, well, yeah.
That's right. They say from the book. That's right. But she can't say that's right because she's 2. But she, it's funny because like
so
you would think
she gives you the that's right response, which is to just go do something else.
She just lets it go completely. And it usually super works.
That's awesome.
And the thing is, you would think like, oh, let me like avoid it or distract her, or we'll go do this way. And I lean all the way in and tell her all the ways in which her wildest dreams about that ball would have been the case if I had let her have it. And then she lets it go.
Right. And that's a really good point too, because I think a lot of people in this, obviously we're implying this works with adults as well.
It does work with adults,
the toddler makes it a fun exercise. It's like, we do that. Like I do that with stakeholders, right? You're kind of like, yeah, I can't get you that thing you're asking for, but we can do that. Like we can do this other thing that you've been asking for, right? And like you try to get their mind off of it. You try to distract. You try to, oh, look at this. Like, oh no, I know you want that ball, but like, squeak squeak, don't you want the dinosaur? How about the dinosaur?
Right.
Right. And it's like, fuck you. You do not understand how much I want this ball right now, clearly, because you're trying to get me to care about this stupid fucking dinosaur. I want the ball, you asshole. But instead, if you're like, you really want this ball, and all the things that you said, they're like, validated. That's right. And then, all right, fine, I guess I can play the dinosaur, whatever.
What are you going to do? I want this ball. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Understood.
Right. You do? Yeah, you want the ball. I
Correct.
heard. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, we already covered that. What else?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the accusation on it, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm late, or this is over budget. What are they going to be like? This is over budget. Like they're going to look crazy.
Right. Are
you going to yell at me that thing I just told you? Like, did you hear me? Is my microphone on?
Yeah. Tact and setting does matter, though. I remember there was one time with a client where I tried to sneak bad news into a retro. It was really bad. It was the wrong time. Because it was kind of like, oh, yeah, also, we're not going to deliver this thing on time. Let's talk about that. And it was like, I'm sorry. Full stop. Fuck the retro. Retro canceled. We're not going to have what on time? And that became the whole topic of the whole thing. And so I was trying to be,
lesson learned,
I was trying to
man.
do the thing. Yeah, I was trying to do the thing that we're talking about. But there are still ways to miss if you do it in the wrong setting or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. You get. Oh, that's funny. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was rough. But whatever. Those people added me on LinkedIn and said nice things about me much later, so it didn't, I think, scar them as bad as it scarred me.
As long as you're Attaboy
nearly as poorly about me.
What was the other? It was Attaboys and
Attaboy to oh shits.
Oh shits. Attaboys to oh shits. I was telling someone today. They were like, "Well, are you sure you can do that? Or isn't there going to be a problem?" And I was like, "No, I've done so well everywhere. I can just apologize for that one."
Yeah, no, sometimes I have an oh shit come up and I'm like, oh God, and I just take a shovel full of Attaboys and just snuff it out with a, with like a, no, that doesn't matter. And they're like, okay, fine.
Oh, for the pod, you got to tell me, give me the canonical Attaboy and oh shit bit here. What are these words? What are we talking about?
Yeah, attaboys are what you get every time someone says like attaboy, like, oh, good job. It's all the positive favor that you have with people around you. And oh shit is, a time that you fuck up or something that you're responsible for fucks up, or at least you're perceived to have fucked up one way or another. You might not have even done anything wrong and it's still an oh shit is the point. And you can think of it like a bank of attaboys, and story goes that it takes about 10 attaboys to cover an oh shit. So if you think about the attaboy economy, the first thing to know is that also like a complaint can also be seen as like an oh shit, like just bothering somebody can be a little oh shit. So you really want to not come in too hot with the oh shits if you have no attaboys in the bank, right? Because you're bankrupt immediately. And I've seen this happen too many times where someone will start new at a company and they'll kind of ruffle too many feathers early or cause kind of issues early on. And, they got no attaboys to cover themselves, and so things don't go well and they're gone pretty quickly. But if you come in and you try to, kind of keep your head down and just do a good job. You don't have to do a phenomenal job. Just do like a good job so that people are like, yeah, man, good job.
Attaboy.
Attaboy. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. I don't need to throw you a party. It's just like a attaboy, man. And you bank a few of those, bank 10, 20, 30 of those. Now you can start to cover yourself for an oh shit or two. And you might be asking yourself, well, when am I going to want to, have an oh shit? I don't want to have any oh shits. How about I just live a zero oh shit lifestyle? And what I would say is you don't want that because that's a zero risk lifestyle, which comes with a much lower reward ceiling. And in fact, you can risk an oh shit or two for many, many attaboys, right? If you maybe go out on a limb, and what does that mean? That might mean, well, I didn't necessarily get upper management's approval to implement this feature, but I really think they're going to like it once it's out. I just can't really convince them to let me kind of work on it on the side for a couple weeks with this one engineer who's already telling me they're really bought into it and that they're not concerned with how it's going to impact their work. So I don't know if I can do it. And if I get yelled at, I get yelled at, but I don't think I'm going to get yelled at. And if it goes well, I'm going to get just a dump truck of attaboys out of this one, And you can start to work your attaboy economy. You can start to take risks, but you have to build that positive favor first in order to do so. And then, you get to folks like us who are just, I live on a mountain of attaboys. And whenever something kind of happens, like I said, I snuff it out with my attaboys.
You just sprinkle it.
Yeah.
And you can't be too bad. There is such thing as a too big of one. You could still bankrupt all at once.
Sure.
Question. One, you nailed the canonical attaboy. That's going to be its own long.
Yeah.
Second,
you're talking about a nuclear oh shit. That's what you're talking about there. Those can happen.
Those are good lords, and you don't want to do those. It's probably like 100 or 200 attaboys for a good lord, and so you really got to be up there
real
to
expensive.
Be sticking around because you learned it and you're not going to do it again, rather than we regret hiring you. That's a good lord. Question. Thank you. Have to tell that back to Lauren. I'll send you this clip. When you were describing attaboy bankruptcy, it reminded me, it came to mind, is attaboy bankruptcy synonymous with flipping the Bozo bit?
I think that's a astute observation. I think it's possible. Probable, even. Yeah.
What is the Bozo bit, right? Well, go ahead.
So the Bozo bit, that's so good. I think they are, congruent. What's the opposite of orthogonal? Or, diagonal? All right, anyway, so these things... I don't fucking know, dude.
In agreement and harmony, identical in form. Close enough.
Yeah? Okay, hey, that felt good. Okay, so the Bozo bit is basically like, you think of it as you take
collinear.
People... collinear, okay. You take people... it's kind of like innocent until proven guilty in a way, or giving people the benefit of the doubt is another way of putting it. And what you'd say is like, if you're starting to work with somebody that you've never worked with before, you start out on the terms of like, I'm going to trust mostly like what you say. If you tell me like, this is a thing that happened, I'm going to say like, okay, yeah, that's probably a thing that happened. If you're like, this is something a customer wants, you're like, yeah, that's probably something that the customer wants. And then if something happens and you get bit by, say, you do a couple weeks worth of work, you deliver the thing for the customer, and they're like, this isn't what the customer wanted. And you're like, this is exactly what you said the customer wanted. And they're like, oh, well, that's going to cost them an oh shit for you. And that's the thing, is the attaboy and oh shit economy is interpersonal. You have a different economy with different people. And so you have this case where somebody has bankrupted their attaboys with you, like they didn't build up enough positive favor, and then they've hit you with oh shit after oh shit after oh shit. And now what you do is you flip the Bozo bit. And what that means is now when they approach you, you automatically assume they're full of shit. you have to like do some work to even prove that what they're talking about is even valid. And so they come to you, they're like, oh, this customer has this problem, and you think they probably don't have this fucking problem, or that's probably not what the root of the issue is. And that's devastating when somebody's had the Bozo bit flipped on them, because it makes them really difficult to work with. And then every time they approach you, you're thinking like, great, now I have a bunch of extra work to do just to validate whatever it is that's being said by this person, because I can't trust what it is they're saying at face value. And trust doesn't mean like blind trust, like, oh, I take everything this person says as gospel. Trust just means like, yeah, at a basic level, I believe what you're telling me is like honest and at least has a basic level of consideration on your end, given your role and what you're responsible for. So the Bozo bit, yeah, devastating when it's flipped, and I think is directly related to Attaboys and oh-shits, because if someone bankrupts their Attaboy economy with you, you'll probably flip the Bozo bit on them. That's basically, it's Chapter 11 Attaboy bankruptcy, is the Bozo bit has been flipped, And a lot of time, and if you flip the Bozo bit with the wrong person, you'll get fired. People flip the Bozo bit with me all the time. Nothing happens to them. But if they flip the Bozo bit with your manager or upper management or something like that, it could be bad. Yeah, it could be bad for you.
That is two canonical topics intertwined.
That was good.
That was a good
that.
capture. There's some gold there. We're at time-ish. He's still asleep somehow, so we're going to sneak a couple little things here at the back end. So I'll publish the last episode today or tomorrow, hopefully. I'll clip this one. I've not been doing clips. I'm real busy, but I like the idea of clipping out the longs. I feel like YouTube has to have a clip function. I wonder if I upload the full raw. I think this whole one was frankly pretty gold. Maybe some stuff in the beginning. No, the whole thing was gold. I should be able to just clip the longs into YouTube. I don't need to use Riverside to do it. I don't need intros or whatever. The clip just starts when the clip starts, right?
Yeah, I know it has like a chapters function. I wonder if there's any way you can like click on a chapter and make it its own video or something like that.
Maybe timestamps to be like clip the chapter.
I don't know if you're familiar with this. Just so you know, if you haven't done this before, when I would upload my trail cam videos, I would watch the video and I call them like, highlights. I would just watch, and any interesting timestamp I would dump into the description. And if you put a timestamp and a little sentence after it and then another timestamp and a sentence after it, it will automatically make chapters for each timestamp.
I learned that for our last podcast episode. That's what I did.
Nice. Yeah. So that works really well. Now, if there's anything you could do, if there's anything you could do with those chapters, then that'll be nice for you.
It'd be nice to be able to
then you
clip
just
them out.
timestamp a hot,
Just timestamp the longs, baby. How'd you like the Alex gonna catch 'em all thumbnail?
That was pretty funny. Yeah, I have a friend who really, really hates auto or AI generated art, and so I love I love throwing it in her face every time. I'm like, look what we did. I do it like as if I'm ignorant to how she's gonna viscerally hate it every time. I'm like, oh look, you're gonna love it. Never does. It's so great.
Look what my buddy drew.
Yeah, bonus if what we were talking about was vibe coding, because that's just a double whammy. Because she like agrees that vibe coding is gonna take her job, but it's going to do a bad job of it, is what she thinks. Like, or she not agrees, but like she projects that it's going to like take her job or put her out of a job, but also like ruin the world because it's going to do a worse job than the humans would.
Probably not, as long as she adopts it before someone else that didn't avoid the new technology replaces her. Because you won't get replaced with AI. You'll be replaced with somebody using AI, and that's me. So watch out.
Yeah, I think she does a good job of adopting it reluctantly and just flaming it, but using it, which is good. I think that's healthy. I think that's good. If you're going to hate on it, but use it anyway, and I think that's what she does. So proud of her for that.
I have one more question before I let you go.
Yeah.
So Kyle, there's no way he listens to this podcast. Kyle apparently was mean to me in our chat. He says, I feel like I might have been a little harsh. Are we good? And so, my first reaction, of course, is to just laugh at him because that's stupid.
Right.
Because, well, at least for me, I feel like I've been pretty good about not getting, like, mad for a long time.
I've never been able to make you mad. Even when
Yeah.
I've tried to make you feel bad, like the 2 times ever, I've tried to like make you feel bad. There was one time, I think, and then I was like, "Are we good?" And you were like, "We are always 100, bro." That made me feel really good, by the way. I still hold on to that. I've even used that on like 2 other people to let them
Does it
know
work?
that we're really good. Because yeah, it was. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, the person I was just talking about, we've had some, me and her, we've had some really kind of like all out arguments, but it's always been within this sort of container of like, we are always 100. And I feel like that makes such a safe space to really dive deep into something and just know like, listen, I'm going to like show more of myself. That's probably going to be obscene from your perspective, but we're always 100. So like, it's okay from both sides, I think. So yeah, that was big for me.
So good. So you understand and have shared a little bit about my revealed character. I'm sure I have a breaking point or whatever. Like there are people that I don't like and that I specifically dislike and that I'll say are not people I want near me, but I'm not like upset about it. I'm not mad at them. Their character is incompatible with me ever talking to them. It's gross that you did that. I don't want to hear about it. Kind of a thing.
That's
But, like,
usually
if
where I
it's-
see you get to is like, yeah, I'm gonna disengage. Is your way of saying like, fuck you. You don't even say fuck you. You're just like, I see that we're not going to get anywhere with this. I'm just gonna go ahead and disengage, and that's like mad Joe. It's pretty funny.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But like, I'm not like mad at you or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I'll tell you too. I'll be like, we're done. I'm not even mad
Right.
about it. This is incompatible, so we're done.
Yeah.
But so anyway, need your advice.
Uh-huh.
Kyle wants to check if we're good. I don't know if I've ever told him it's impossible to upset me. I like at work. I'll be like, I dare you to try to upset me. Good, go ahead and do it. $10 if you can. But I don't know if I've ever had that talk with Kyle. And because he doesn't listen to this podcast, I'm going to ask you a question about it. He says, I feel like I might have been a little harsh. Are we good? And so my first reaction is to laugh at him because that's silly for the reasons we've just discussed. And then to have like a no, we're cool or whatever. I was also thinking it could be funny to leave him on red and stop engaging in poll for like a whole day, and then to laugh at him.
A couple other things you could do. One is you could be like, you should think about what it is you did and like do that, pull that whole thing on them where it's like, you better, what you've been doing is really fucked up. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you better figure it out. You should tell them something like that.
Because it's a bit.
Yeah. That is one thing you could, right. Because it's a bit. I think that would, that is probably the front runner for me.
Okay.
That's probably a front runner for me. And then the other one, if you cared to engage more deeply, you could say something like, what makes you say that, or something like that. You could be like, and let him say a little more about like why he thinks he may have pushed it too far. But if you don't really feel in any way like that did happen, then I say go with the bit because it's the funniest and it'll help everybody move on faster.
I don't even know what he's talking about, but there's no way it's unfair. And of course, even if he's like coming back and asking if he's a little harsh, it's clearly that we were just sparring or in jest or whatever. I was also thinking I could maybe leave the chat, and then leave him on red for a day, and then laugh at him and rejoin.
The only problem with that is
apologize to him for being harsh.
That's hilarious. That whole thing is pretty funny if you're willing to invest all that in it, and then miss whatever the happenings in the chat were going to be for the day. But
no.
Right. If you were busy or something, it would be funny. If you're like, you know what, I've got shit to do this weekend anyway. I'm not even going to be looking at the chat. I'll just leave it for 2 days. It'll be fucking hilarious. That would be funny. But if you don't want to miss it, I say come at him with the bit, and I think that'll have it'll let him it does 3 things, right? It lets him know that everything is fine. It helps everybody move on faster, and I forget what the third thing is, but that's probably okay.
You know what I think I'm satisfied just having joked about fucking with him, and I'm probably just gonna hit him with the no bro,
nah, you're good,
nah,
yeah, nah, you're good, that's another option, yeah,
nah.
Yeah, a good heartfelt nah is good. That's what I was saying. That worked with me really well.
Or I could hit him with "It's fine."
Ooh, see now that's mean. That's meaner than leaving chat.
Okay. Wow, I like how that's meaner than leaving chat.
Yeah, it is.
It's
for sure.
fine. I shouldn't.
This
I
was
shouldn't
funny.
mess
I hope
with
he
him.
listens to this. That'll be special.
There's no way. There's no way he's going to. And also, if he did,
Yeah.
hi Kyle. Just know
Hi,
by
Kyle.
the end of this, I chose to just be direct with you, and that it was always fine, and that we're
Yeah.
always 100.
Just to make it extra funny and so that I have some skin in the game, Kyle is the friend whose Discord I joined and had the whole funny bit at the beginning of this episode. So it's fun that we came full circle
Okay.
here.
Okay. I
That was
didn't
good.
necessarily name names like that. He's been on the pod.
That was good.
But okay. No, we can wrap up.
Well, it's
there.
fine. It's okay that
we're
he
over.
uses Discord and is interested in development. You know, I feel like I didn't cause any problems there, but that was funny.
No, we're fine.
That was
We're
good.
fine.
Yeah.
It is finally up. Great timing. Great canonical captures, my bud. Okay.
Yeah, good job, dude.
Have a good one.
Yeah, we know multiple Kyles. I know a couple Kyles. Could have been any of them. So,
All right. Later.
later, buddy.